welcome back to the channel. So, this is Speed Week, and this is the City Criterium. Now, Speed Week was supposed to be the kickoff to my big race season. I had big dreams of traveling all around the US, racing every race I possibly could. I had an awesome off-season with a lot of endurance work. I did some preseason racing. I flew out to Valley to the Sun. I flew up to Rock Hill in South Carolina. So this was going to be the start to everything great. Well, so I thought. Coming into this race about 3 weeks prior, I ended up getting COVID for the first time. And with COVID, it kind of hits everybody a little bit different. So with me, some people can train right through it. Some people are in the hospital beds. I was kind of right there in the middle. I was laid up in my bed for about a week. And then following that, I had about a week of really poor training. And then I was supposed to fly out to Speed Week. I had a lot of numbness in my arms and tingling, and I have no idea where that came from. My skin was itchy. Nobody ever heard of it before, but I ended up just having those issues to deal with. And then my heart rate was 10 beats higher than normal. And as you can see in this race, you'll see my heart rate kind of sit steady around 175 to 180. Now, 180 is max threshold for me. I'm hurting bad at 180, but it was weird. In this race, I wasn't dying, so it was just natural for my heart to be higher. Now, I had flutters going into this, and there was a lot of concern about me even racing, but I had plans, so I showed up. And what that can do mentally to you, it's crazy, because when you race these races, the top level of criterium racing in America, you really need to have the fitness, and you need to have the mental form, I guess you could say. You need to be firing on all cylinders. So I was already on the back foot coming into Speed Week, but that wasn't going to stop me. I showed up, and when I showed up, the biggest thing about me as a racer, I like to, and this all makes sense because with this race, it's going to make sense perfectly. When I show up to the tent, or if we're talking in the chat, I like to know exactly what our plans are going into this race, to the best of my knowledge. Am I going to be a breakaway rider? Am I going to surf the front of the field? Am I going to sit in and be available for the last couple laps as a lead out? Once I know what I'm supposed to do, I really like to just exit all conversations. Now, that doesn't always happen. And we can bring it back to last year, and this is a vivid memory that I have is at Birmingham. And I ended up talking to everybody. I was just walking around. We were sitting in staging. I was talking to some Cat 3, 4 guys from earlier in the day when they raced. And they were just talking about sketchy points on the courses and things like that. And it got in my head. And I just got once I get in my head, it's like a snowball effect. And I end up I overthink things, and I end up just ruining my race. So I made a point with this race in particular to figure out what I'm going to do and just disappear. Did a good warm up, showed up on the starting line, and had a fantastic race despite everything that was going on with me physically. Mentally, I was there. So in this particular race, I was the breakaway guy. I was supposed to be in any kind of move that could potentially go up the road. Now, with this particular race, we had Best Buddies, Legion, Butcher Box, and Blazers, and a bunch of other teams that if the breakaway didn't make sense, then it's not going to go up the road. So you really don't want to put 110% effort into these. I would always make sure I stayed within the top 5 to 10 people of this race. I would end up at the front, take my pole, and just kind of fall back 10 spots. Now, with this move in particular, Butcher Box launches a guy, and I go, okay, I'm going to go with him. I have the momentum. I'm going to shoot up to him in hopes that I have Legion or Best Buddies or a Blazer on my wheel, because this is the opportunity that, you know, we're 40 minutes into a race, and this is the opportunity that where breakaways will stick. So as I catch him, I go past him to show, okay, I'm committed to this. I haven't looked back once yet, so I don't know who's with me. I'm hoping Legion went with, I'm hoping Best Buddies. I come around turn 3 into turn 4, and as I get into turn 4, I flick my elbow, and unfortunately he doesn't come around. And at that point, I look behind, and it's just me and him. So it makes perfect sense that he's not going to burn himself out. No one's with us. We're not going to stay away. But shortly after we regroup, another breakaway goes up the road. This has everybody in it. You have a Best Buddies, you have a Butcher Box, you have myself in it, and you have a Legion dude in it. But for whatever reason, it kind of just fell apart again. No one really wanted to commit to that. Now, what's funny about this race is that one guy ended up going up the road by himself, and they just let him float up the road. He got like 20 seconds on the field. And at that point, I thought, man, maybe I can catch him. We're about 55 minutes into this race. If I bridge to him, maybe that's something. Maybe one guy will come with me. Who knows? So I ended up like bridging to this. First, I'm like stuck in no man's land chasing this guy. He must have been flying because I'm going 30 miles an hour, and I'm like stuck dead in between the Peloton and him. Ended up having Kyle Perry from Texas Roadhouse bridge to me, and we were able to work really well together to make it to that guy. Now, so it was 3 of us, and we were fully committed at this point. Now, we knew that the chances of this breakaway staying away is pretty slim. But that's bike racing. You never know what can happen back in the Peloton. Maybe they don't get organized. Maybe, you know, a crash happens. Maybe they just don't feel like chasing, and they just don't want to win tonight. Who knows? But with this, you know, we know we're going to get brought back. The time gap ended up getting to like 20 seconds, and then from that, it got brought back down. But the worst thing happened to me ever in a race, and this is the problem with racing, and this is the things that happen with racing, is that everything can be going well, and you come around turn 1, and you drop your chain in a breakaway with 3 guys. Now, shit happens. We know it. But at 9 laps to go, I couldn't, 3 laps were done and my race was over. So that was very frustrating to have such a well-organized race, and I did everything I was supposed to. I knew I had Sebastian back there, so if everything fell apart, he was ready to light the match for the sprint. But unfortunately, my chain dropped. I was out of that breakaway. They ultimately did get caught, and that brings us back to Sebastian's cam, where he was able to get into a top 20 spot for this race. It was a well-fought race. A lot of top-level racers showed up. And stay tuned, because we're going to go ahead and talk about Athens in my next race and how I got another DNF at the biggest race in America and how I can do better. So stay tuned. There'll be another video dropping soon. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe.